ओके, सो आज ये हम जो बातचीत करने वाले हैं ये बहुत ही अनकैंडिड और अनफिल्टर्ड टॉक है। अम, इसका अगेन कोई ऐसा कोई फॉर्मेट नहीं है, बड़ा इनफॉर्मल है। बस जानने वाले हम आपके बारे में। शुरू करते हैं आपकी ज़िंदगी के बारे में। अगर
So we grew up in a pretty good, background in India. Come from an upper middle class family, and then my, I was the most, I was the elder one, so I was also a pampered child a lot, and my mom was a very liberal personality, so she kind of brought us up in a very liberal way, and our thinkings. Ours was a very modern family, and um, so my mom was very independent female, so our house was mostly motivated by my mom and her value systems and all that stuff. So I have had a pretty nice pampered childhood, and then after that we had some difficulties and we have overcome that, and my mom had gone through a health issues, and so uh, it was difficult for us to continue or pursue our education, and we had to take up responsibilities at an early age. But then again, yes, and I started working at very early age, and then after that I got married, and but I had a very good career where I was working for Hewlett Packard. I traveled a lot. Um, I've been to a lot of places, like a lot of cross country travel I have done, and then I was pretty independent by that time. And then after my education, and then my parents decided, because my mom's health was not doing good, so they wanted me to get married quickly. So mine was arranged marriage, and uh, yes, but yeah, coming here was my childhood dream, because a lot of my cousins, most of them are settled abroad, and um, uh, I have had various interactions with them. So I always wanted to come here, settle here, because it has been an inspiration seeing all my cousins move out of India and all that. And then we got married, and as usual, my husband was from IT. I'm a non-IT person at that point of time, and he was in IT, and then his job also included a lot of travel. So most of our married life, one after we got married, we both were traveling. So he used to travel, and we had our first son Nikhil, and we traveled with him too. And then finally we decided to move to US, and that so I moved to Rhode Island first time. But with all the travel that we have done to other places before, my expectations to coming to US was way different than what I have experienced after coming here. I had to compromise my career. I had to quit my job because I was on a dependent visa. I was not from IT, and I was a stay home mom after that for a long time, and for about 10 years. And that is when I met Shad. Shad was my neighbor when I moved. Even after moving to US, we have traveled a lot to a lot of other states here. So it was so unsettling for us. And my son had, it was not easy for us to move here and settle, because it was very challenging compared to the expectations we had, and from the backgrounds that we come from, the way I grew up, and being so independent here and not being able to work. That was the biggest challenge and hurdle that I had to overcome here. But I was starting the fun family, so it kind of made it easy for me, because I was busy with the kids. It was a new place, I was settling in, we were moving, so we never realized how the time passed from moving, shifting from one place to another place to another place. And then finally it so happened that we settled here in Minneapolis from last 10 years, bringing up the kids. I was a full-time mom, and then I had my daughter, and that kept me going for a long 10.
as it came आप बस चीज़ों को वैसे ही लेते गए जैसे आता गया, कि आपके पास ऑलरेडी प्री प्लान गोल्स थे कि नहीं मुझे ये करनी है, मुझे वो करनी है, मुझे यहाँ जाना है, कुछ ऐसा था?
No, like as I said, I was born with a silver spoon, and then, but like at that point of time when when usually a teenager builds their dreams and all, there was so much going on in our life with my dad's business, with my mom's health. So we had to, like there was no time for prepping, well, I did had my dreams because I always wanted to join my father's business, because we had a very big advertising agency, and my father was into photography. We used to have a lot of models that used to uh, do modeling for us. And so and it was a very fancy flashy business that my dad had, and I wanted to always be a part of that. That's where I got very ambitious, because
Hmm.
I wanted to be part of all that limelight that they were
Hmm.
in. They're
Hmm.
my dad's a fine arts person, and um, his business and his client. I was born with all that. Half of the time we used to spend in my dad's office, after from school, and
Hmm.
so so I always we never had a plan, I never had. I was so inspired with his business that I always wanted to join that, and give him a hand. But then this was at that time, in 90s, when multimedia was just uprising, and my dad was into offset printing and those. I know I got married at 24.
So you really thought you needed more
Yeah,
time.
I was someone who really thought I would needed more time, because I always wanted to get married at the age of 30 or something like that. Have my but no regrets, because I was having the perfect life. At that point of time, things settled with us. I had a very
So
good
you
job,
had
and
a silver spoon life, you had a pampered life, and then you saw the media world, like advertising world, which is like flashy and आपको वहाँ ज्वाइन भी करना था, आप ठीक है अब नहीं ज्वाइन किए, बट सडनली आपकी मैरिज हुई। तो आपको कभी लगा कि ओके एक रात में
I
दुनिया।
would not say that it was all overnight or something like that. For me, everything was everything changed dramatically, and because yeah, I knew my situation what was, and I worked enough time by then. I have seen the outside world. I had a very good exposure by then, and the exposure I had outside with the outside world, because I was traveling, and I have seen people, I have seen men, I have um, I pretty much was a lot matured by that age to really understand those differences.
हम्म।
So I was able to, when jab shadi hui, yes, for towards marriages I had my aspirations, like any
हम्म।
other girl would, and especially with that time where I was at the point of my life, my aspirations about marriage, and about like how my life should be,
हम्म।
was very very dreamy, like what we see in our Hollywood movies, it was like that. So but then again, the reality is, like, obviously we all know that.
तो पर आपके लिए अच्छी क्या चेंज हुई वो बताइए एंड चैलेंजेस क्या रही।
अच्छी क्या चेंज हुई, in the sense is, see, there are negatives to it and positives to it. Every
हम्म।
marriage has
हम्म।
that, right? So with me and with my life, मेरा एक ही था कि I had to, for a long period of time, like the kind of personality I am, like independent, I had to give up a lot of things and stay home for 10 years doing nothing. That was a big.
शादी के बाद ही आप यूएस नहीं आए, आप पहले
हाँ,
इंडिया में थे कुछ साल। कितने साल थे आप इंडिया में?
I think 2004 मेरी शादी हुई, 2008 we came to India. So
तो
4
4
years I
साल
was
आप
in
इंडिया
India.
में थे और निखिल वहीं पैदा हुआ, निखिल इनका बड़ा बेटा है, तो वहीं पैदा हुआ था, राइट? तो आप जब शादी किए वहाँ पर लाइफ कैसे थी कि आपके घर में काम करने के लिए लोग आते थे एंड हाँ वो सब?
Yeah, that's what, that is the biggest change I talk about. I just was not getting into specific details of
हाँ।
it, because then it is a long story, right? So I was trying to make it long story short, because yes, that, like as I said, even after my marriage, I was working, my husband was working, we were traveling, and I have always been ambitious. So my mom was very practical person, and she is always uh, like as I said, she was a very liberal person. So security was something that was very very important for me. So I wasn't like not a girl from where, I got married, I have to be dependent on my husband, and that was not at all my thing. I always wanted to be independent. Baad bhi, after marriage also, I wanted like मेरा खुद का घर हो. I didn't wanted to like waste time around जैसे so, and I was working, तो in spite of that, हमारा शादी का पहला ही साल हम लोगों ने घर ले लिया था इंडिया में. And I wanted to make sure that it is both, we both contributed equally towards that. So मेरे जितने भी savings थे and all, we bought a house, and even before Nikhil was done born, we had a house. So हमने उसी साल 2005 में घर भी लिया, निखिल भी हो गया. I know it was all too quick for me, but it just happened. Yeah, like those are the areas I would always like kind of correct myself, maybe if given a chance, because uh, it was too quick. Maybe I did not put enough thought onto it, because for me, like as I said, my mom always wanted me to get married, settled, see me settled, that was our priority. And I was only heading in that direction. I never like gave a thought like, okay, मुझे अपने लिए 2 साल निकालने चाहिए थे. Yeah, I was in a rush of my life to do everything, probably that I don't know, maybe the insecurities that grew with everything that happened over a period of time.
तो आपको
और
लगता है
बहुत
कि शादी के बाद भी थोड़ा टाइम देना चाहिए बच्चे होने से
हाँ,
पहले?
that is really, I feel now, I'm not saying that by doing that I lost something, or I regret those decisions. I don't, because everything has a positive.
बात बताइए, आप निखिल को इंडिया में बड़ा किए एंड देन आप यहाँ पर आए. यहाँ पर भी आपने अलग अलग स्टेट में रहे हो. आई थिंक हमारा सिचुएशन ऐसा होता है कि जॉब की वजह से आपको जगह जगह मूव करनी पड़ती है.
हाँ.
तो इंडिया में परवरिश करना और यहाँ पे परवरिश करना कितना डिफरेंस है?
See,
क्या आपको निखिल के साथ स्ट्रिक्ट होना पड़ा था? भाई इंडिया में हम इजीली बच्चों को डांट सकते हैं, मार सकते हैं, और इतने सारे लोग होते हैं ना कि आपको आप खुद के अलावा बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं जो आपके बच्चों को सिखाते रहते हैं, ये मत करो, वो मत करो. बट यहाँ पर वो सिनेरियो नहीं होता है, वहाँ सिचुएशन नहीं होता. तो आपने दोनों परवरिश की है, वहाँ पर भी और यहाँ पर भी. तो कैसे डिफरेंस रहा, कितना डिफरेंस
see,
रहा?
I don't think I would be able to make that comparison very fairly, because Nikhil, no doubt, when I moved here, Nikhil was 4 years. But to be very honest, वो 4 साल में I have been moving to other countries. We have been moving with Nikhil to other places. So I would not say that I was 4 years in India with my son. And half of the time,
तो आप किस कंट्री में रहे?
so Nikhil was there with us 3 years in India actually. तो उसमें 1 साल हम टोक्यो में थे with निखिल, because and उसके बाद हम एम्स्टर्डम में थे. And but उसके बीच में I was not there for 6 months, and my son was with my mother. And then उसके बाद Raj was not with us for some time. He was in Amsterdam. And so those are that is the reason, like I wouldn't say that I had much time bringing up Nikhil in India. And he was very small kid, like he was very very small. So there was nothing much up until 2 years that you do with that kid, like where I can teach him that whether you did this or not. Yes, but there are a lot of challenges from my laws, or because in India it is like you get judged a lot by how you bringing your kids, because and at that point of time we had so many like house help in our house for everything, because I was working. It was a big house and Nikhil was very small, so I needed a lot of house help. So I had somebody to take care of Nikhil, then we had a cook, and then so it I did not feel that much. But yes, from relatives point of view, yes, there is too much pressure that they want to like tell you, like okay, because we travel so much, and he has faced some difficulties because of that. And that is where I say, when I moved here and when I was settled with him, with the kids, it gave me enough time to compensate that mistakes, whatever. at that point of time we couldn't, because we were at the peak of our careers, very young age, and um, uh, the kid was too early. This is what I say, that it needs time for you to really prepare yourself for a kid.
So do you
That
think you were judged more in India than, and you feel that relief here because here people don't care what you do? I think that is a एक पॉजिटिव भी होता है, एक नेगेटिव भी होता है. वहाँ पीपल केयर करते हैं, तो बोलते भी हैं, कभी कुछ अच्छा भी होता है एंड कभी अच्छा नहीं भी लगता, बिकॉज आप हमारे लाइफ के बारे में बहुत कुछ नहीं जानते हो. आपको लगता है कि ये लोग को मज़ा आता है ये करने के लिए, बट कभी कभी वो मजबूरी भी होती है और कभी कभी वो ज़रूरत भी होती है. पर वही चीज़ जब हम यहाँ करते हैं यूएस में, जो कि यहाँ के पेरेंट्स करते हैं और हम करते हैं जब वो चीज़, तब आप कर सकते हो. क्या आपको वो डिफरेंस लगता है कि यहाँ पर जजमेंट कम होती है, इंडिया में ज़्यादा होती है, या आपको वो सेम ही लगा यहाँ पर भी?
See, no, there is no point of judgment here, because when you come here and when you're all alone here with your kids, then there are a lot of things that you learn from yourself. You adapt to your lifestyle. Whereas in India, when you're with everybody else, it gets a little difficult for you to adapt your life a lot, according to your needs, because you get help there. It has its positive side. I'm not saying that it is negative. It has its positive sides. It has its negative side, because the amount of moral support you get there is unbelievable. Like you need that, no matter how much you deny that we want independence, but again, too much of moral support is also little bit of independence. There should, I feel, always feel that there should be a balance of
इंडिया और यूएस में आपका थॉट प्रोसेस कुछ चेंज हुआ कि यू हैव द सेम थॉट प्रोसेस, क्योंकि आप इंडिया में इतने साल रहे हो, तो आपकी थॉट प्रोसेस कुछ चेंज हुई?
See, the thought process, definitely, I will say it has changed a lot. And when you talk about US life, how what you see and how you, like as I said, reality always is different from your screen world. So it's the same people here, it's the same life here. You have to struggle to earn, you have to struggle to put the food on your plate. So it is not about that. It is not what you see, what you have, what you, it's about how you mold your personality. One thing, the difference I feel here, especially for women, is that in this country you get that freedom of the liberty to like you just said, nobody is here to judge, not from a family perspective. I'm just telling, as a woman, like an independent woman, I see that, compared to, I worked in India too, so I'm talking from that perspective, where I worked in a company. And always, I always thank for being here today, because there are a lot of things, though I haven't worked all these years, I have got so much exposure. I have seen women from different countries. I have seen women from different cultures. I have seen life here, different people, and there is a lot that I learned from this country. I have learned liberal values in this country. I have learned uh, like uh, the value system that is built here. It is not like how we say that here kids are, it is different again. Like as I said, what background, what setup you come from, what kind of family you are, which kind of place you are from. It is not like that everybody cares for the children, but their value systems are totally different, our value systems. So when you start comparing your value system with their value system, it's not going to work, because their value system is different and it fits in for them. And it is also the infrastructure, the cultural values here, that which plays along with. Not a place to judge how the culture is there right now, how women feel there right now, because I listen to a lot of my friends who say that like I have a lot of my friends who come and tell me that we do a lot of work here, they don't get to do. But I don't feel bad about that. Think about it, after coming here, this place has prepped me for anything. Tomorrow my life I can independently manage, whether I have a maid or not. whether I can do my chores or not, whether I have a moral support or not. So that is the positive side of it. That
just makes you strong.
your world ready. Like it made you strong.
Yeah, it
and
helps you discover yourself as a
discover
woman,
yourself,
and it also helps you become strong and independent. Independent in the sense, independence, आई डोंट नो क्या मीनिंग है इंडिपेंडेंस की सबके लिए, बट इंडिपेंडेंस ये नहीं है कि आपकी जब मर्जी हो आप जहाँ जा सके, कुछ मर्जी हो पहन सके. इंडिपेंडेंस उसको नहीं बोलते. इंडिपेंडेंस वो होता है जहाँ पर आप एक्चुअली अपने आप को पहचान सके. यू डू व्हाट यू वांट टू डू, व्हाट इज राइट फॉर यू टू डू. दैट इज एक्चुअली इंडिपेंडेंस. इंडिपेंडेंस इज नॉट. सो स्नेहा, आपके एक बेटा है और एक बेटी है.
Yes.
So did you feel any difference in growing up a son or a girl?
Is that there are insecurities that you have when you have a girl child and you have a boy child, which I know that according to today's age that we live in, we should not have. But again, it is your lifestyle, how you came up, from which background you came up. That all plays a role. Like, if I have insecurities for my daughter, maybe those are linked to my past. Like, maybe if I treat her like that, no matter what people say and how they try to portray it, like, in front of the screen, what I noticed or what I have seen is that every mother has an insecurity towards her daughter. And
so you don't have that insecurity for your son, just daughter?
No, it's a different one.
Okay.
It's a different, like, you ask a mother of any girl, like, it will never be the same for a boy and girl. At least this is my perspective. It
So
won't be
what's
the
the
same for a boy and
insecurity
girl.
you have for a
It
boy?
depends upon, like, which, well, like, insecurities in the sense, like, if with my son now, I always fear that, at least within this country, when he goes out there to the college, he's alone on his own. I have but what is important is, once you teach the value system to your kids and you build that trust, I think you got to leave it on that. You do what you can do. And then that's what I learned, because I, all through my life with them, I have had these insecurities. But over a period of time, I learned that there is nothing much you can do. Like, what you give your children. I have given my kids enough liberty and independence that they can make their own decisions, and I never stop them. I want them to be independent, because I feel that, with me, there are a lot of things that I could not do with my own will and wish, which I don't want for them.
Help me on one thing. Does you have your kids' friends and they are mixed, like your friends can be of different culture and from different country. But does that impact your kids anyways, and they come by and say, he has that liberty or he has that freedom, or he's getting that? Have that been an influence or impact in any way?
No, I don't. Parents' influence that really takes over the kids. So we as a parent should not influence kids in that matter. This is one important thing I would say, that with my kids, I always let them solve their own battles. So it is very, very important that, as a parent, you should allow them to fight their own battles and resolve their own battles. You can be of a support. I'm not saying be ignorant about it. By not being ignorant, at the same time, give them the liberty to, make that way they can be ready, right? That's the way. Otherwise, it will be a struggle for them. I'm not saying they will.
Those person who touched your life, and you feel that if they wouldn't have been there, I would be like, I would have collapsed somewhere, or maybe they touched my life or touched my heart.
See, what I say is, all along your journey, you'll find a lot of people. They are there in your life for a reason. And because I'll tell you, when you talk about inspiration, you yourself are your inspiration. That is what for me, I have been my inspiration. Because when I reflect back on myself, that is my inspiration. I know, like, sometimes I get judged, but end of the day, when I reflect back on myself, I find myself very strong. I think that, the things I do, or, whatever I do, no, doesn't mean that there is no definitive way of, like, with your relationship with your daughter is a different path. Maybe your husband doesn't know. You, with your son it is different. With your husband it is different. Which the kids might not know, right? So all this, and the kids, they have come now. They did not see my life before. They did not see my life with my husband, right? So I always think that nobody gets to judge that. You are the only person, and that is what is registered in your brain. And when you reflect back on that and see how much you did, you calculate that, sum it up, that will tell you how strong woman you are. And for me, that has been my inspiration. That's what keeps me bouncing back. Like as I said, I have times where I want to go into a shell. I want to, like, I have had the worst times of my life, the very very low times of my life, and but that's what then you think of yourself, and that gives you the energy, and then that gives you the inspiration and motivation to, okay, I have not done bad. I have, okay, no matter people have judged me or have not, but they don't know anything about me. When you think about that and then you self reflect on yourself, there is your inspiration. Rest, everything, everybody that comes in your life, if you talk about a person, they are your motivations. Like you get motivated by seeing some person for some particular thing, not for. And yes, there are people that have like my mom.
What actually makes you very happy?
See, I like to be around people.
Okay.
So for me, I want that, like the unity of togetherness, and that makes me really happy.
So Sneha, what is success for you?
See, success is how happy are you and how satisfied are you at the end of.
Human, what do you want to tell this world as a message? What do you want to give?
See, as all I say is, see, when we are young and we have everything, we have people around us, we take a lot of things for granted, right? And over the period of time, as you grow old, as you're aging, we realize the importance of all little things, how much they matter to you. But it gets very late. It is too late sometimes, right? So I think that is very important, how much you have contributed. Even if you can make 1%, do expectation, having less expectations is what I say is a base of any humanitarian grounds, because the less you expect and the less you do without expecting anything, that is where I think, because eventually, no matter whether you've been appreciated for that, if you're not appreciated for that, it's one thing to always remember that do what you're doing and it will all fall in place.
So I think two important messages: don't take people for granted, or don't take anything for granted, because you get to live that for that moment. And second is
Appreciate everything.
Appreciate and keep less expectations. Because if you keep less expectation, I know it's sometimes difficult.
It is difficult, yes.
Difficult to do, because when you do a lot of things, you have expectations, but slowly, I think there is a point when you overcome that. So, so those are the two messages you have for them. Again, final last, what are the tips and tricks of the decor that you did, or any tips and tricks you want to give to us?
There is, like, see, it's a personal choice again. Some prefer doing it, some don't, right? So if you are a person that you like to keep your house certain way, just start with, like, with your personality first, like what you like. I'm a very blingy person, so if you see, everything around my house is very blingy because I like, and then I always like to be little different than others. So, like, I always see that there are, like, I did a lot of my shopping online, but I like Hobby Lobby for all the little things of your house. and then I like a lot of contemporary furnitures. So my taste is more.
Awesome. I think it was an awesome time spent with Sneha. I
Yeah.
don't know how you
Thank
felt
you,
it,
Shah.
Sneha.
Thanks for this opportunity, letting me speak, and it was nice to even, reflect back and.
Good, thank you so much. If you like this, then please, Sneha, what should we do?
Like, subscribe.
And share.